Zealot TV. My name is Mark Eibner, and we're here for the second part of our show today. And we've got David Behr, and David Behr is with Competitive Edge. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Hey, let's just jump right into kind of what I've been bringing up with a lot of our brokers, which is success. It's your own damn fault. So where did that come from?
Well, if you think about it, and you know this being a broker, they say 20% of the people make 80% of the money. I'm sure you found that to be true.
And really shifting from that to 90-10.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the reality is they work for the same company, have the same product out there to offer, and they work within the same territory. Why is it some people are more successful than others? And I think this message is probably the best way I've ever heard it by Larry Winget, actually, is who I got this sentence from. Success is your own damn fault. And he's written a lot of books. One of them, one of his latest is called "You're Broke Because You Want to Be."
As a paper, I think that was out in paperback.
Yeah,
I just did read that one.
Yeah, if you think about the message, who spent the money? People who are broke. So it's the same thing with success. He has a new one out. Actually, I was in the Seattle airport about 3 weeks ago, and it's called "People Are Idiots and I Can Prove It." And I think that ties into, again, people are successful because they really want to be successful.
Yeah, I guess I never thought of it even from the brand standpoint, even within any type of brand out there, whether it's a Coldwell Banker, Metro Brokers, Remax, it really is 80-20 rule through and through, no matter what company you're at. And I think it's funny how brokers leave thinking that the pot of gold's over at some other company. Yeah. And it's really not.
Yeah, one of the things I always tell people, because I do workshops a lot, and I see people within organizations, and a year later, I'll do a workshop for that organization, they won't be there. And I'll do workshops for other companies, and all of a sudden, there they are. And I think to myself, oh, that's interesting, they're over here now. And what I want to tell them, I don't tell them this, I should, but what I want to tell them is, wherever you go, you're going to bring you with you.
Yeah, very good point.
And again, I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is if you're successful, it's because you really want to be successful. If you're not successful, it's accountability, I think, is really what it comes down to. And one of the messages, I think, with the whole success is your own damn fault is, and I don't think most salespeople understand this, at least when I learned this, it changed the way I did things. And the day you chose sales is the day you chose to be the president of your own company.
Right.
In doing workshops, I ask the company or the salespeople all the time, who's the president of this company? And they'll tell me, oh, Mark Eibner is the president. And I say, great, congratulations for Mark giving you a great place to work. But the reality is all of you are the president of your own company.
Sure.
You prove it. 20% make 80% at the end of the year, regardless of the economy.
Yeah, I think I've noticed I've been having more heart-to-hearts with agents. You know, they'll call me up, well, we're leaving, I'm going here. Yeah. And I sit down and just tell them, this is how I started out right here. And we've been focusing more on actually having more heart-to-hearts with people and laying the law down on you can go anywhere other than going back to retail. You could go work at Kohl's probably, and quite frankly, there are some agents that make more at Kohl's, I think, than they do in the profession.
Well, and that's true. If you think about it, and one of my modules that I do is called "There's No Difference Between Commission and Salary." And a lot of people think, oh, if I go work for salary, I have my cushion, I know I'm going to make. And in commission sales, I don't think it's any different than salary, and I'll give you an example. If somebody works at Kohl's and makes $8 an hour, if you're the boss, you're not going to pay them $8 an hour unless they show up, right?
Right.
And then why are you going to pay them $8 an hour?
Because they showed up.
Because they're worth it.
Yeah,
That's what they're worth to the organization. Well, if a salesperson, a realtor, wants to make $100,000, there's two ways to do it. Same way as a salary: show up and be worth $100,000.
Oh, great point.
No different.
Great point. I never thought about that. And I think what we've noticed in the industry in general is I think the hypocrisy of the virtual agent. What we're seeing is a chase to the bottom, right? We're seeing a chase to the bottom on fees and a chase up to the bottom on services. And people are actually forgetting that staying at home, working from home, watching Oprah, playing with your kids, walking the dog, those are all things that don't pay money.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are majoring in minor things, which if you think about the 80-20 rule, I got frustrated because as a person who's built my living around helping people get more successful wherever they are, whether it's a bottom of the barrel to an average to a producer that's 20%er, how can we get them into the top 10%? And one of the things that I found to be true, at least in my research, because I asked managers a lot this question, why is it 10% make 90% or 20%? Why is this happening? Same company, same economy, same product. And I wasn't getting the answer that I wanted to. So I started doing some research. And I talked to everyone from a very low producing salesperson to an average salesperson to a very top producer. And what I found to be true in my research is the reason 20% make 80% is because 20% of the things they do will make 80% of the difference.
And so our next slide then.
Yep, I think that kind of validates what you just said, which is a lot of people are majoring in minor things. And then at the end of the day, they're blaming somebody else because they weren't successful, when the reality is they spent most of their day doing things that weren't producing activity and income and so forth.
Well, let me ask you this then, because sometimes I have my doubts. I've seen it, but maybe you can answer this for me. What I've seen is probably about 20% we have are the achiever force, and then at the bottom of the pile we've got a 20 or 30% of what I just call non-achievers, right. Regardless of what they do. These are the people that need unions. That's my theory is there are people that need unions because they're just lazy, derelict. No, they don't want to do anything, right? So we're really fighting kind of, let's just call it the middle 60%. We've got these people in the 60%. Can and have you seen people move from that 60% into the 20%? Can it be done?
Absolutely. And I think it all comes down to, well, you're familiar with the Harvard study, less than 3% of Americans have their goals in writing. So if you asked 100 people that are in business, are goals important? They'd all say yes. What if you ask those 100 people on the spot, may I see your goals? I won't read them because they're yours. That's not my business. I just want to see if you have them. Based on a Harvard study, less than 3% will be able to show you their goals. So it goes back to this. We all know what to do. I think the question is, are we doing it? Is a good question we got to ask ourselves. People know what to do to be successful in real estate or in sales. Go talk to people. Go know how to overcome the top 3 objections you get. It's not that hard. But the reality is most people know those things. They're just not doing those things. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Interesting.
And how do you get, like you said, how do you go from here to here? And my best answer is if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So a good question I think hopefully people ask themselves is, what am I doing to get better?
Yeah, so I always try to bring up with people that this is a contact sport, and 2 things have really changed the industry over the years that I've seen that has, I think, brought the industry down is the internet and, of course, people working at home. Two ways where people are not in contact with folks. Right. And you're talking about 20% of the things you do make 80% of the difference. So what are some of these other 20% things people should be doing?
Well, if there's a difference between managing your time and managing your events. A lot of people are managing their time, and if you think about it, time management's a misnomer. We all have 24 hours in a day. It's not the hour, it's what we put into the hour that's most important. So your question is, what are those handful of things that make the most difference for people in business? And I think all of that is going to come from somebody's goal. If somebody doesn't have a goal, how are they going to manage their day? Not very well. It's not the hour, it's what we put into the hour. So something I learned, and basically everything I know is just things that I've learned from other people. So your answer, your question of how do you get from here to here, be open-minded. I mean, we've all met know-it-alls before. You've probably had a few of those in your office. They say, why do I need this sales training, motivation? I've been doing this 30 years. And what you should say to them is there's a difference between 30 years experience and 1 year experience repeated 30 times. Because if you think about professional athletes, they're at training camp every year. Well, most of them.
Yeah, I mean, we're moving more into strategic coaching for our agents, and I think I have a coach, and
Tiger Woods has a coach, and
they all do.
Greats. So
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's not weird. It's obvious. It's if you want to be successful, hang out with successful people. Do things that make you successful. And what are those things? Well, obviously, prospecting is going to be huge. And one of the things I found that most salespeople don't know, they know activity breeds productivity, but if you ask them, what's your magic number every day that you're going to go out and talk to about real estate or about whatever product you're selling? And most people won't be able to answer that question, even though they know knowing the ratio is important. It's like right now the baseball's going on, and what do all the baseball players know? They know their batting percentage. And what about realtors or salespeople? What if they knew their batting percentage? They could finish the formula of what I call the ratio to success. And basically what it is if someone wants to make $100,000 in real estate and they make, I'm making it up, $5,000 on a sale, this person now knows I need to make 20 sales. They know how to do it. Right. So to go back to your question earlier, what do we need to do to be successful? Well, to make 20 sales, what does this specific realtor or salesperson need to do? Because we all have different ratios, like batting percentages. So let's just plug in a number just for fun. Let's say someone wants to make 20 sales. How are they going to do that? they need to put themselves in front of a certain amount of people. And obviously in goal setting, you got to be specific.